So I hope you are able to see what is written on the whiteboard. In the previous class, we had discussed the decimation in time, radix 2 fast Fourier transform algorithm. So it's called decimation in time because you are decimating the input sequence into smaller subsequences. So decimation, maybe we can think of decimation as splitting the sequence into smaller subsequences. So the decimation in time FFT algorithm resulted in a flow chart, resulted in a signal flow graph, rather it resulted in a signal flow graph with bit reversed input and the natural ordered output. So the input is in the bit reversed order and the output is in the natural order. And because of this bit reversed input, because of this unique structure, you had also seen that you can actually compute the FFT of an endpoint sequence, that is the DFT of an endpoint sequence. If it is radix 2 DIT FFT, then the number of memory locations that you need to compute the FFT is only n, which means that you can compute the FFT in place. So all the new values can be used to write the previously stored values. So you only require n memory locations to show the result of the FFT computation. And you had also seen the number of multiplications, that's the complex multiplications, is n by 2 log n to the base 2. And the number of complex additions is n log n to the base 2. So obviously we require n to be a power of 2. So that is only when you can attempt this radix 2 algorithms. So we had discussed the decimation in time algorithm previously. So now we move on to the second algorithm, which is known as the decimation in frequency algorithm. So I hope you are able to see the PowerPoint presentation. So in the decimation in frequency FFT algorithm, just a second, I will just confirm that. Are you able to see the presentation?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So in the decimation frequency FFT algorithm, the DFT equation, so that is written as which we have as x of k is equal to sigma over n, x of n w n raised to nk, is split into even and odd frequency integers as shown here. So here you write the even index of the DFT sample. So earlier you had split the input sequence into even and odd samples. Now what we are going to attempt is to split the DFT components, that is the frequency samples, into even and odd components. So what we will do is we will first of all write the even samples of x of k. We will call that as x of 2r. So x of 2r is equal to sigma n equal to 0 to n minus 1 x of n w n raised to n into 2r. So where k was equal to 2r. So 2r indicates that r, when r takes values from 0 to n by 2 minus 1. So when r takes values from 0 to n by 2 minus 1, this 2r takes values from 0 to n minus 1. So x of 2r you can write as sigma n equal to 0 to n minus 1 x of n w n raised to n into 2r. So which you can write as sigma n equal to 0 to n by 2 minus 1 x of n w n raised to n into 2r. So that is the first half of the summation. So this summation from 0 to n minus 1, we split into two halves as shown here. The first half is from 0 to n by 2 minus 1 and the second half is from n by 2 to n minus 1. So sigma n equal to 0 to n by 2 minus 1 x of n w n raised to n into 2r plus sigma n equal to n by 2 to n minus 1 x of n w n raised to n into 2r. So now we will look at the second summation. We will try to change this summation also from the range 0 to n by 2 minus 1. So for that what we will do is we will substitute for this variable n by n plus capital N by 2. So if I put this as n plus capital N by 2, so here n becomes n plus capital N by 2 into 2r. So this summation you can write as sigma n equal to 0 to n by 2 minus 1. So you see that these two are exactly same expression. So when you have n equal to 0 to n by 2 minus 1 of x of n plus n by 2 into wn into n plus n by 2, that results in this half of the summation, this half of x of 2r. So therefore we can write x of 2r as sigma n equal to 0 to n by 2 minus 1. Now that becomes x of n plus x of n plus n by 2 into w n by 2 raised to nr. Can we say why you can write this as w n by 2 raised to nr? So for that, you just expand this complex exponential, so which you have here. I can write w n raised to n plus n by 2 into 2r. You can expand this as w n raised to n into 2r into w n raised to n by 2 into 2 into r. So you can cancel 2 outside. So I'll just write this term alone. So this becomes w n raised to n into r. Now can someone tell me what is w n raised to n? What will be w n raised to n? Wn being equal to e raised to minus j 2 pi by n, the whole raised to n. What is that equal to? That becomes e raised to minus j 2 pi. Whole raised to r becomes e, this is equal to e raised to minus j 2 pi, the whole raised to r. So what is e raised to minus j 2 pi? What is this term?
1.
1. So this term is equal to 1. So this reduces to w raised to n into 2r. So therefore, you can write the second time as Wn raised to n into 2r. And now, again, you can see that. Now, what will be Wn raised to n into 2r? I am now concerned with this part. So, Wn raised to n into 2r. So, that is Wn raised to 2 into n into r. So, let me look at what is Wn raised to 2. So, Wn raised to 2 would be e raised to minus j 2 pi by n, the whole raised to 2. So that we can write as e raised to minus a 2 pi by n by 2. So this therefore becomes, this is therefore w n by 2. So w n raised to 2 is w n by 2. So this becomes w n by 2 raised to, so this expression now becomes w n by 2 raised to n into r. So that becomes w n by 2 raised to n into r. Okay. So therefore, the summation you can write as x of 2r is equal to sigma n equal to 0 to n by 2 minus 1, x of n plus n by 2 into wn by 2 raised to n into r for 0 less than or equal to r less than or equal to n by 2 minus 1. You can interpret this even now. So what is the interpretation to this? Can you look at what is happening here? I would appreciate anyone to attempt this. So can anyone interpret what is happening here? So x of n varying from 0 to n by 2 minus 1 is the first half of the input signal, right? So input signal had values from 0 to n minus 1. So now you are looking only at values from 0 to n by 2 minus 1. So x of n, when n varies from 0 to n by 2 minus 1 is the first half of the input signal, right? Is it understood? And x of n plus n by 2, when n varies from 0 to n by 2 minus 1 is the second half of the input signal. So the first half of the input signal is added to the second half of the input signal. So you have a new sequence here. First half of the input signal is added to the second half of the input signal. So first half of the input signal is added to the second half of the input. So let us look at a numerical example. X of n equal to 1, 4, 6, 8, 3, 2, let's say 4, 1, 3, 2, 4, 1. 3, 2, 4, 1. So the first half of the input signal is this 1, 4, 6, 8. So this is 1, 4, 6, 8, first half of the input signal, and this being the second half of the input signal. So now you have a new sequence which is obtained by adding the first half of the input signal to the second half. So 1 plus 3 being equal to 4, 4 plus 2 is equal to 6, 6 plus 4 is equal to 10, and 8 plus 1 is equal to 9. So now you have a new input sequence, so which is having only 4 samples, 4, 6, 10, 9, which is obtained by adding the first half of the input signal to the second half of the input signal. So that is a n by 2 point sequence. So again, you see this expression x of n plus n by 2 is an n by 2 point sequence. Now what is happening here? Can someone tell me what is happening here? Arvind Palat, can you make a guess? Can you make a guess what is happening here? Arvind, you are not present today, right? So maybe someone else can try. Abhishek, are you there in today's class?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay, so what is happening here? I'm adding the first half of the input signal to the second half of the input signal. And now, what is this expression indicating? What does this expression indicate?
Even part of the.
No, this is the even part of the frequent DFT, even part of the DFT. But now I am looking at the right hand side of the equation. What is the right hand side of the equation? This is an n by 2. Can you guess that it's an n by 2 point DFT?
DFT, yes.
It's an n by 2 point DFT of what? N by 2 point DFT of this sequence. Now what is this sequence? The first half of the original input sequence added to the second half of the original input sequence. First half added to the second half. So that is an n by 2 point signal, and you are now computing the n by 2 point DFT of this summation, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now let us look at x of 2r plus 1. So here we have written x of 2r. Let us look at x of 2r plus 1. Similarly, for the odd numbered frequencies, x of 2r plus 1, you can write sigma x of 2r plus 1 would be sigma n equal to 0 to n minus 1, x of n, wn raised to n into 2r plus 1. So again, I should have written 0 less than equal to r less than equal to n by 2 minus 1. So if I expand this as before by splitting the summation into the first half and the second half, I can write this as sigma n equal to 0 to n by 2 minus 1, x of n, wn raised to n into 2r plus 1, plus sigma n equal to n by 2 to n minus 1, x of n, wn raised to n into 2r plus 1. So now, as before, we will try to change the summation from n equal to 0 to n by 2 minus 1 here. This is easily obtained by putting n equal to n plus n by 2. So we write n plus n by 2, wn raised to n plus n by 2 into 2r plus 1. So you need to expand this. So we will look at the second part, and we will expand the complex exponential here. So this you can write as wn raised to n into 2r plus 1 into wn raised to n by 2 into 2r plus 1. Let me take wn raised to n by 2 into 2r plus 1 outside. So wn raised to n by 2 into 2r plus 1 will take outside. Okay. And the rest is sigma n equal to 0 to n by 2 minus 1, x of n plus n by 2 into wn raised to 2r plus 1. Now let us look at this complex exponential part which is outside the summation. What is wn raised to n by 2? Someone please compute wn raised to n by 2 and tell me what is wn raised to n by 2. Take maybe 20 seconds to compute this. What is wn raised to n by 2? That is e raised to minus j 2 pi by n, the whole raised to n by 2. So that would be e raised to minus j pi. What is e raised to minus j pi? Cos pi?
Minus 1.
That is minus 1, right? So this is minus 1 the whole raised to 2r plus 1, right? So this expression is therefore minus 1 the whole raised to 2r plus 1. So what is minus 1 the whole raised to 2r plus 1? Are taking integer values. So 2r plus 1 should be an odd number. So minus 1 raised to an odd number could be minus 1 raised to 1. What is that equal to minus 1? minus 1 raised to 3 is equal to minus 1. So minus 1 raised to an odd number, 2r plus 1 being an odd number. So minus 1 raised to 2r plus 1 should be equal to, therefore, what is that?
Minus 1.
Minus 1. So this term therefore reduces to minus sigma n equal to 0 to n by 2 minus 1 x of n plus n by 2 into w raised to n into wn by 2 raised to nr. Now, let me have a feedback. Am I audible? Do you find any disturbances while I speak? Is the audio clear, or do you find the audio breaking in between?
So the audio is clear.
Okay. Right. So this should be minus sigma n equal to 0 to n by 2 minus n x of n plus n by 2 into wn raised to n into wn by 2 raised to n into r. Now we will combine these two expressions. So the first part is sigma n equal to 0 to n by 2 minus n x of n into wn raised to n into 2r plus 1. I will expand this as x of n into wn raised to n into wn by 2 raised to n into r. I hope you understand why I was able to write this as wn by 2 raised to n into r. This was as before. So wn raised to n into 2r is wn by 2 raised to n into r, as we have seen earlier. So this expands to wn raised to n into 2r, which you write as wn by 2 raised to nr, and the second term is wn raised to n. So this is expanded like this. Likewise, here also you have sigma n equal to 0 to n by 2 minus n x of n wn raised to n into wn by 2 raised to n into r. So which means you can write x of 2r plus 1 is equal to sigma n equal to 0 to n by 2 minus 1 x of n minus x of n plus n by 2. So what is happening here? Abhishek asked before, what is happening here?
Yes, sir.
What is happening with this sequence? X of n minus x of n plus n by 2. What is happening here? Summation is from 0 to n by 2 minus n.
To
What is happening here?
n by 2 point dft of first x of n and
No, so I am only asking about what is happening here. X of n minus x of n plus n by 2 മാത്രം പറഞ്ഞാൽ.
first part and
Second half in first half in second half in difference. Right. So you are computing first half minus second half, and you are going to multiply this new sequence So am I audible now?
Yes, sir.
I hope I'm audible now.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm very sorry about this. I had some issues with the internet. I am not very sure whether I will be able to get the recording of the initial part of today's discussion. So let me see whether I can do it again. Anyhow, I will record the. If I do not get the recording of the first one, then I will do it again. Okay. Right. So we'll continue now. I believe I had lost the connection when we were discussing this slide. Were you with me while
So
I
you're
was
not
discussing
presenting. So you're not presenting.
Okay, sorry. Okay, is it okay now?
Yes, sir.
Can you see the slide? All right.
Yes.
So I hope you were able to see the slides before while I was discussing it earlier. Were you able to understand how you got the expression for x of 2r plus 1? Or do I have to do it again?
No, sir,
Lakshmi,
it was clear. It was clear, sir. I mean, you
was
just
clear.
said the last line. Yeah.
Okay, so x of 2r and x of 2r plus 1. So x of 2r you get by adding the first half of the input sequence to the second half and then finding the n by 2 point DFT. And finding the n by 2 point DFT. Whereas x of 2r plus 1 is obtained by subtracting from the first half the second half of the input sequence, multiplying the new sequence by w raised to n, and then computing the n by 2 point DFT. Now, we will try to implement this as a signal flow graph. So what you have here is the computation of an 8-point DFT using decimation in frequency FFT. So we are just doing the first stage of this expression. So here the input sequence is divided into two halves, which is from x of 0 to x of 3, and the second half is from x of 4 to x of 7, and the second half is added to the first half like this. So the second half of the input sequence is added to the first half here. For example, g of 0 is x of 0 plus x of 4, and g of 3 is x of 3 plus x of 7. Okay. Likewise, you subtract from the first half the second half. So here h of 0 is x of 0 minus x of 4, and likewise h of 3 is x of 3 minus x of 7. So you have a minus sign here, minus 1, minus 1, minus 1. So this indicates that you have a subtraction at these nodes, whereas you have additions at these nodes. Now, the second sequence is multiplied by Wn raised to n. So this sequence is multiplied by Wn raised to n. So x of 0 minus x of n plus n by 2 into Wn raised to n. So here this is x of 0 plus x of 4 into Wn raised to 0. Now this would be x of 1 minus x of 5 into Wn raised to 1. This would be x of 2 minus x of 6 into Wn raised to 2. And likewise, this is x of 3 minus x of 7 into Wn raised to 3. Right? So these are our new sequences. Now you need to compute the n by 2 point DFT of the sequence here. So that will give you the even samples of x of k. So x of 0, x of 2, x of 4, x of 6. And this should give you the odd samples of x of k, right? I hope this is okay. Can I get a feedback from someone?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay, so now what will be the next step? You can tell me what should be the next step.
Sir, we
Now
try
this-
to reduce the multiplication.
And now, as before, you have to iterate this process. Just like you did for the decimation time FFT, you had split the frequency samples into even samples and odd samples. So now you have an 8-point DFT sequence. You had split the sequence into an even sequence here and an odd sequence here. Now what we will do is here you have a 4-point sequence here in the frequency domain, and here you have another 4-point sequence in the frequency domain. What we will do is we will split this sequence into an even sequence and an odd sequence. So what would be the even sequence here? X of 0, X of 4. And the odd sequence would be X of 2, X of 6. Is it understood? So here also the even sequence here, corresponding even sequence would be X of 1, X of 5. And the odd sequence would be X of 3, X of 7. And the process will have to repeat here. So for that, what you have to do is add to the first half the second half. So which means, so if you have a sequence here, so I'll go to the next slide and illustrate that. You have a sequence here. So this is split into the first half and the second half. Add the second half to the first half like this. Subtract from the first half the second half like this. Multiply by the complex exponentials. But since earlier you had an n by 2 point DFT, now since you have an n by 4 point DFT, these complex exponentials would differ in power by a factor of 2. Just like you had for your decimation time FFT, this would differ by a factor of 2. So here you see that they differ by a factor of 1. So W index is 0, 1, 2, 3. So here they differ by a factor of 2. W index is 0, W index is 2. Is it clear? So here you have an n by 4 point DFT that gives you the even samples of this 4-point sequence. What are the even samples? X of 0, X of 4. So X of 0, X of 4. Here you have X of 2, X of 6. And this is X of 1, X of 5. And this is X of 3, X of 7. Now for this 8-point sequence, now you have ended up with n by 4 point DFTs. And you see that this n by 4 is 2. So all these are just 2-point DFTs. So we'll just replace this n by 4 point DFTs by 2-point DFTs. So you know that for a 2-point DFT, you only have a summation and a difference. You add and subtract. So the first sample you get by adding. That is X of 0 is got by adding these two samples. X of 4 is got by subtracting from this sample this value. So that is easily shown here. So this is added. These two samples are added. And from this sample, this is subtracted. So now to match the geometry, we will also show that this is being multiplied by W in raised to 0. You know what is W in raised to 0? That's equal to W in raised to 0 is equal to anything raised to 0 is equal to
1.
1. So W in raised to 0 is equal to 1. So you see that now this has got a regular structure. You see that the output, that is the frequency samples, are in the bit reversed order. See? Whereas the input sequence is in the natural order. So input sequence is in the natural order and the output sequence is in the bit reversed order. So let us look at the number of multiplications per stage. So how many multiplications will you have here? You have to multiply by W n raised to n. So W n raised to n would be how many multiplications? You will have n by 2 multiplications here, right? In this case, you have 4 multiplications. In general, you have n by 2 multiplications. And how many additions? You have n additions. All these are counted as additions. So you have n additions per stage. And how many stages do you have? For this example, how many stages do you have? This is the first stage. This is second stage. And this is the third stage. So how many stages do you have for this? Someone tell me. I given
3
the answer.
stages.
3 stages. So in general, for n, how many stages will you have?
Log n to the base 2.
Log n to the base 2. So what is the total number of multiplications required?
N
Complex
into,
multiplications is n by 2 into log n to the base 2. And what is the number of additions?
sir, n into
Log n to the base 2. Very
base
good.
2. Yeah.
So number of additions is n log n to the base 2. Number of complex multiplications is n by 2 log n to the base 2. Now, you observe a typical butterfly here. So maybe we look at the butterfly here. This is our butterfly. And you see that for the decimation in frequency butterfly, the multiplication by the complex exponential is done after the butterfly. See? Whereas for the decimation in time FFT algorithm, the multiplication by the complex exponential was done before the butterfly. That is how you distinguish, that is how you find out whether the algorithm is a decimation frequency algorithm or a decimation in time algorithm. Because you will see that this can be rearranged and then you can make the output normal ordered and the input in the bit reverse order. So that also can be done. So this is the final flow graph. And can in-place computation be done here? Can you do in-place computation here? Meenakshi, you are there in the class, right? Can you perform in-place computation? Can you perform in-place computation?
Yes,
No.
sir.
Yes, because once you compute these two values,
Again,
once you can replace these two. So if you multiply this by the complex exponentials, you can replace these values. So
yes,
at this stage, when you reach here, you will require 8 memory locations here. Compute all these, then also you can do this with 8 memory locations here. And finally, up to the last stage, you will require n memory locations. Of course, you will require intermediate registers. So maybe within the digital signal processor, you can use some registers, temporary registers to perform intermediate results, but you will require only 8 memory locations. So only 8 memory locations are required to compute the 8-point decimation frequency FFT algorithm. So before discussing all this, let me look at alternate DIF FFT structures. So this is the DIF FFT structure with the input in the normal, input in the natural order and the output in the bit reverse order. So input in the normal order and the output in the bit reverse order, which is what you have seen. Now the DIF structure with the input in the bit reverse order and the output in the natural order. So input now is in the bit reverse order and the output is in the natural order. Can you have in-place computation here?
yes, sir.
Yes. Now you had seen that when you had discussed decimation in time FFT, you had when you had derived this structure, you saw that there was a structure with the input in the bit reverse order and the output in the natural order, because that was the original structure that you had derived, right? See, this is the structure that you had derived for DIT FFT. This is DIT FFT. The input is in the bit reverse order. The output is in the natural order. The structure for DIF FFT that you had seen has the input in the normal order and the output in the bit reverse order. Now we will rearrange this DIF FFT structure to this form. Now, how will you know that this is DIF and not DIT? How will you identify that this is DIF and not DIT?
Where the multiplication takes place.
Yes, yes. You look at where the complex multiplication takes place. Multiplication by the complex exponential takes place after the butterfly. So that is how you identify whether it is DIT or DIF. Now, this is the structure where you have both input and the output in the natural order. Now, can you have in-place computation? Meenakshi, you can continue to answer. Can you have in-place computation for this?
Here, it's not possible.
Not possible. It's not possible. Right. And what? This is a structure where you have a repeating structure. It had some initial advantages when you are designed using FPGAs, but nowadays the last two structures are not at all used. So now we will also look at the similarity and the difference between the decimation in time and decimation frequency algorithm. Okay, so the decimation in frequency FFT algorithm is the transpose of the decimation in time FFT algorithm. So this should be a new word to you. Have you studied transposition theorem in network theory? When you have a directed signal flow graph, you can find the transpose of a directed signal flow graph using the following two steps. The first step is reverse the direction of all the flow graph arrows. So if you have an arrow like this, now reverse and put the arrow like this. So arrow would be like this. Reverse the direction of all the arrows in the signal flow graph. Then interchange the input and the output. So if you had an input here, this will go to this stage and the output will here will come to this stage. So you see that the decimation in time butterfly, when you take the transverse of the decimation in time butterfly, you will get the decimation in frequency butterfly. See, you will reverse the arrows, reverse all the arrows. Now the input and the output are interchanged. So that is now rearranged to, so that you just do a flipping and then this will be the decimation frequency butterfly. So can you appreciate that this is the transverse of the DIT FFT? DIF FFT is the transverse of the DIT FFT. See, now these kind of signal flow graphs have how many inputs does this signal flow graph have? This is one input, this is second input, this is one output, and this is second output. So in general, maybe you can call this signal flow graph as a multiple input, multiple output signal flow graph. So you have two inputs here and two outputs here. For example, here you have many inputs, so you have 8 inputs here and you have 8 outputs here. So you can call this as a multiple input, multiple output signal flow graph. And there are also signal flow graphs where you have one input and one output. So you call those signal flow graphs as single input, single output signal flow graphs. So SISO signal flow graphs, single input, single output signal flow graphs. And later, when you start our discussions on the structures for FIR filters in the third module, we will see that the transpose of a SISO signal flow graph will have the same functionality as the original signal flow graph. It will perform the same function. But this is not applicable for a case where you have multiple inputs and multiple outputs. So you cannot say that the functionality is the same. So this will not give you the same function here. Even though you see that you can compute the FFT in both ways. This is the butterfly for a DIT signal flow graph. This is the butterfly for a DIF signal flow graph. In general, you see that this is the total structure for the DIT FFT. Now, if you reverse the direction of all the arrows, and then if you interchange the input and the output, which means the input goes to this side, so all the small x will come here, and the output will go to this side. And now I will take a flipping, I will take a mirror reflection. So I will rearrange that. Instead of reading from left to right, I will read from, so instead of reading from right to left, I will choose to read from left to right. So if I read the structure, you will see that the DIF FFT will be a transpose of the DIT FFT. DIF FFT is a transpose of the DIT FFT. So, is that clear? It does not mean that they have the same functionality. You cannot replace this block by this block. But for a single input, single output, single flow graph, that you can do. So which we will see later when we discuss the filter structures for FIR and IR filters. So that we will do later. That we will see later. So we will see the transposition theorem when we see the third and fourth modules, which is mainly applicable to the single input, single output kind of signal flow graphs. Okay, this is clear. How do you compute the transpose of a signal flow graph? Lakshmi, how do you compute the transpose of a signal flow graph?
Sir, reverse the direction
Of all the arrows
flow
and
and interchange the
interchange the input and the output.
input.
So you see that the DIT FFT structure is the transpose of the DIF FFT structure and vice versa.
Yes.
Okay, and you also have discussed that when you have a single input, single output signal flow graph, the transpose of the original signal flow graph will have the same, ditto, exactly same functionality. So you can replace the original block by the transposed blocks. So nothing will change if the signal flow graph is a single input, single output, single flow graph. However, that cannot be generalized to multiple input, multiple output. Okay, so that is about DIF FFT. So for the examinations, if you are asked to derive, you have to continue from here. So maybe you also have to write the expression for the n by 2 point DFTs for this, and then you finally end up with the n by 4 point DFTs. But I have stored my derivation for this with this step, but maybe you can continue for this. Okay. So that is about decimation frequency FFT algorithms. So now we move on to computation of the inverse discrete Fourier transform using the FFT structures. Now, so you know this is the expression for the inverse DFT. X of n is the expression for inverse DFT. And this is your expression for the forward DFT, for which you have evolved FFT algorithms. So where you had seen radix 2 DIT and DIF algorithms. You had seen FFT algorithms for radix 2 DIT and DIF. So mind you, I had already discussed that you can have other radixes as well. For example, you can have radix 4. There is an advantage with radix 4 in that within the butterfly you don't require any multiplication. Whereas for all other butterflies, for example, for a 3-point butterfly, for a 5-point butterfly, etc., you require multiplications within the butterfly itself. You require multiplications. Whereas for radix 2 and radix 4, within the butterfly, you don't require any multiplications. For radix 2, you only have addition and subtraction. For radix 4, you are seeing that you have addition, subtraction, and swapping of the real and imaginary parts. Okay, so there are radix 4 algorithms as well. So we will discuss radix 4 algorithms only if we get time, because that is not included in your syllabus per se. Maybe you will need that to do some experiments in the DSP lab. Let us see how time goes. Now, can you tell me one way in which you can modify the FFT algorithm to compute the inverse DFT? So don't look at this slide, but think about any method to compute the inverse DFT using the FFT algorithm. So let us go back to the whiteboard. So here you have arrived at a FFT structure. So I will draw that FFT structure. I will not draw the complete structure, I will draw it as a block. So I have a block, I have an FFT structure here. So here I have my input. So this is x of 0 to x of n minus 1. So I will assume that all bit reversals, if any, will take place within the block. So I will write this as input and the output sequence in the normal order, because that is what actually you require. So to read the output, you will require to read the output in the bit reverse manner. So that is very easy. To bit reverse the input, you only require to flip the address bus, and to bit reverse the output, you only require to flip the address bus at the output. So that's easy. So this is your FFT structure. So FFT structure. Now you are asked to implement a structure which accepts the frequency samples as the input, x of 0 to x of n minus 1 as the input, and produce at the output the input samples x of 0 to x of n minus 1. I would like you to make a guess how this can be done. So this should do what maybe we will call this as the inverse fast Fourier transform algorithm. So let us go back to the presentation and we look at the DIT and DIF FFT structures. Okay. So these are the DIT and DIF FFT structures that you have seen. Now, can someone tell me how can you change this to implement your inverse discrete Fourier transform? Can anyone make a guess? The equations for the analysis and synthesis are very similar. Let us see what are the differences. The difference lies in the sign of the complex exponential, right? You have Wn raised to nk for the analysis equation and Wn raised to minus nk for the synthesis equation. That's one difference. And you also have this division by n for the synthesis equation. So which means maybe you can modify the structure by changing the powers to negative values. Say for example, this is Wn raised to minus 0, so this will not make any change. So Wn raised to minus 0, Wn raised to minus 2. These will be Wn raised to minus 0, minus 1, minus 2, minus 3. And you have capital X here, and you have small x here, and then you have something here, and you have to divide this everything by n. So that should give you the structure. That should give you the IFFT. So to find the IFFT, so let us see, maybe to find IFFT, I can modify the FFT like this. This is the FFT algorithm. I will make two modifications. First modification is replace Wn by Wn raised to minus 1. Okay. And the second is divide output by n. Divide the output by n. So this should give you IFFT. So if I have this block, if these two changes made, replace Wn by Wn raised to minus 1 and divide the output by n. So here what I will do is in every output line I will divide by n. Divide by n. So within this structure I will replace Wn by Wn raised to minus 1. So which means I can have an IFFT structure by replacing all these Wn raised to n by Wn raised to minus n. So Wn raised to n will become Wn raised to minus n here, and Wn raised to k will become Wn raised to minus k here. Is that understood? So, and then you have to divide the final output by n. So that should give you the output. Can you appreciate this? Do you want me to discuss this further? So if you look at the analysis equation here, this is in this equation. You see these two equations are very similar. So now if capital X of k was the input, if capital X of k was the input to the FFT algorithm, and if you replace Wn by Wn raised to minus 1, and then use the same signal flow graph, and then divide the computed outputs by n, then our logic will say that you will be able to get back the original input sequence X of n. So it is obvious that you get back the original input sequence X of n. So replace Wn raised to k by Wn raised to minus k wherever it appears for the DIT FFT and multiply the final output by 1 by n. Is it understood? Do I need to discuss this further? Is this understood?
It's understood.
Okay. So now the disadvantage with this algorithm is that disadvantage with this method is that you need to modify the algorithm. So you need to modify the algorithm here. So in practice, what you do is when you write more complex algorithms. So for example, when you do your research, if you start to build your code from scratch, the code that you can that you have to develop might take maybe weeks to develop. But whereas if you had a library of functions, say for example, if you have a function for FFT, say for example, you have a function for FFT x comma n, so which computes the n point FFT of the function x, then there is no need to develop this function FFT x comma n. So because this is already available, someone had already written a code for FFT, and then you can use just call that code. You don't have to reinvent the wheel to build a vehicle. So the design for the wheel is already there. But if you have to use this FFT for your program that you are going to write, then you don't have to build it from scratch. You don't have to build it from scratch. So to compute this FFT, to compute this IFFT, now you have to go into the FFT structure and then change the code. By replacing Wn by Wn raised to -1 will mean that you have to rewrite the code for FFT. So that is difficult. Sometimes you might be implementing this as a hardware. So this FFT structure is already implemented as a hardware using a hardware descriptor language. It has been wired onto an FPGA, and you can use that FPGA. Maybe that FPGA is available to you as an intellectual property, IP core. You call this as an IP core. Maybe you have an IP core. So just remember this name, IP core. IP core, where IP stands for intellectual property. So intellectual property core, which means that someone has already written a hardware descriptor language code for FFT. You don't have to rewrite the code again. You just have to invoke that code from the library. So you can't go into the IP core. So you cannot change whatever is inside the IP core, which means that replacing Wn by Wn raised to -1 will mean that you have to rewrite everything from scratch. You have to maybe write your own code for that. Maybe you have to change, either you have to change the hardware, or maybe you have to change the subroutine for computing the FFT. You have to change the subroutine for computing the FFT. So that is rather cumbersome. So maybe the best method would be not to replace the FFT structure. So maybe you have to use whatever is available here. You have a function for FFT. So that function has to be reused. So this is the function FFT. Now the same function has to be used where you have capital X of 0 to capital X of n-1 here. Maybe you use pre-processing stage, and maybe you might need to use a post-processing stage. So these values go to the post-processing stage. The outputs of the pre-processing stage goes to the FFT algorithm, and here you will be getting X of 0 to X of n-1. Now this has the advantage that you don't have to change the internal code for FFT. So that is if you have developed any hardware, or if you have any subroutine that you have readily available from the library, you don't have to revisit the subroutine or redo the hardware. Instead, you only need to do this pre-processing and this post-processing. So that has got the advantage of not changing the software or the hardware for your structure. So, however, the method that we had seen to modify the FFT algorithm to do inverse DFT computation will require modifying the internal code in the FFT subroutine. Now, there is a very simple method to use the same FFT code to compute the IDFT. So that is obtained by looking at the symmetry properties of discrete Fourier transform. I had discussed the symmetry properties in the first module, and I had asked you to go through all the symmetry properties and try to prove those symmetry properties. All the proofs are very trivial, so I don't want to waste time on proving the symmetry properties. I will ask you to prove all the symmetry properties as a part of your first assignment. So maybe you can submit your assignment on Tuesday. So that will maybe barely take some 30 minutes to do your assignment. So it's not much of a grade. You don't have to make any great effort to prove all the symmetry properties. It's very straightforward. So you know that the symmetry, you know how to prove the symmetry properties. So all those you can do by yourself. So I don't want to waste time on proving the symmetry properties in the class. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll write the expression for the synthesis. X of n is equal to 1 by n sigma k equal to 0 to n minus 1 x of k w raised to kn, and then take the complex conjugate on both sides of the IDFT equation. So if I take the conjugate on both sides, so this becomes x star of n, and this is equal to 1 by n sigma k equal to 0 to n minus 1 x star of k w raised to kn, because I have taken complex conjugate throughout. So x star of n, this x of k becomes x star of k, and w raised to minus kn becomes w raised to plus kn. Is that understood? Or x of n I can write as the conjugate of x star of n. So which means it is a conjugate of x of n is equal to 1 by n sigma k equal to n minus 0 to n minus 1 x star of k w raised to kn the conjugate, right? W raised to kn the conjugate. So x of n will be the conjugate of this expression, which is written here. 1 by n, n being a real number, n being a real value, which is the power of 2. Sigma k equal to 0 to n minus 1 x star of k w raised to kn, the whole conjugate. Now see that what we are doing here is just the FFT algorithm. What we are implementing here is just the FFT algorithm. See, there is nothing here. This is a positive sign. You are not changing the sign of the complex exponential. So this is x star of k into w raised to kn. So you only need to, first of all, conjugate the input sequence. So instead of x of k, I will give x star of k at the input. Then compute its endpoint DFT. That is, compute the forward DFT, forward FFT. Then conjugate the FFT and multiply by 1 by n. Multiply by 1 by n. So the internal code of the FFT structure is not changed. So let us go back to the whiteboard and see how this is actually implemented. So once you see how this is implemented, you will see that you don't have to touch the internal code. So you require to complex conjugate the input. So x of k, I have x of k. So x of k will have a real part and an imaginary part. So I have a real part of x of k. So I will just write real x of k. And then I have imaginary part of x of k. So it's coming here. So I will represent this as a single line. In fact, I have a dash here. I will draw all the lines. So this is a dash having n lines. So x0 to x of n minus 1. So that is the real part of x of 0 to real part of x of n minus 1. And here I have the imaginary part of x of 0 to imaginary part of x of n minus 1. So now what I will do is I will take the conjugate of this. How will I take the conjugate of this? So a plus jb, if I take the conjugate, that is just equal to a minus jb. So I will have to multiply the imaginary part by minus 1. So I will multiply this imaginary part by minus 1. So this is multiplied by minus 1. So all the lines are multiplied by minus 1. So therefore here you have real part of x of k and minus imaginary part of x of k. So in essence you have x star of k here. So this is x star of k. So to complete x star of k, you will have to multiply this by -1. And as you have seen, you don't require any multiplications to change the sign bit, or you convert that to ones complement or the twos complement. So you don't have to do any actual multiplications to multiply by -1. So this goes to input of a FFT processor. So this is the real part and this is the imaginary part. So goes to your FFT processor. So here you have your FFT processor. So now you compute the FFT of x star of k and you take the conjugate of the output. So how will you take the conjugate of the output? Again, you multiply this part by -1. So you have the conjugate of the output. And what is next? Finally, you divide this part by n. That is the last step of the algorithm. For the last step of the algorithm, you have to divide this by n. So this goes to a divide by n circuit. So this is a divide by n circuit. So each line is divided by n. So here you have the real part of x of n, and here you have the imaginary part of x of n. Now, is this understood? What we have done is, we'll go back to the presentation again. These are the steps. Complex conjugate the input DFT coefficients. That's the first step. For that, change the sign of the imaginary part. Then compute the forward FFT. So which means you are basically using the same hardware or the same subroutine for FFT. Then complex conjugate the output of the FFT, which means that you have to multiply the imaginary part by -n, that is change the sign part, and then multiply by 1 by n or divide by n. So that is what is shown in this structure. So pardon my drawing. So this is real part of x of k, imaginary part of x of k, multiply by -1 here. So this becomes x star of k. Give this to your FFT processor, conjugate the output by multiplying this by -1, and then divide by n. So that gives you real part of x of n. This is the imaginary part of x of n. Is this understood? I would appreciate a feedback. Is this understood?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that's very good. So if I divide by n, now this division by n is also very interesting, because here, as we have seen, n is a power of 2, n is equal to 2 raised to r, n is a power of 2. So there are r stages, n is a power of 2. So where r is equal to log n to the base 2, r is equal to log n to the base 2. So if I divide by n, say for example, if I divide by 2, if I have to divide 1011 is a number, I have to divide this by 2. What will be the new value? Can someone tell me what is the value? 1011 by 2. So 1011 by 2, I will store this in a shift register 1011. So this is 1011, which is a number 1011. What is 1011? 11. So I need to compute 11 by 2. So what is 11 by 2? That will be 5.5, right? And 5.5 is 101.1, right? This is 1. So this is after the binary point. So which means to divide by 2, I only need to shift the register by what? 2 samples to the right. Is it understood? Shift by 1 sample to the right. Shift by 1 sample to the right. So to divide by 2, I only need to shift the register by 1 sample. Say for example, if I had a binary point, Clear the screen and do this once again. So 1, 0, 1, 0 divided by 2 is equal to 101, right? Areyallo, this is an even number. 1010 divided by 2 is equal to 101. 1010 is the number 10 and 101 is the number 5. So this is a process of fully shifting. So 1, 0, 1, 0. So let us assume that I have a binary point here and then I have some values here to show the digits after the binary point. That's a bit after the binary point. So these values are originally 0, 0, 0, 0. Now to divide this by 2, I will shift this by one sample, one bit to the right. So one bit, don't use the word sample. One bit to the right will become 101 point. So that 0 comes here. 0, 0, 0. So what is this number? This is equal to 5. Now, if this had to be divided by 4, how will you divide this by 4? Shift this by 2 samples, 2 bits to the right. Okay. So if I divide this by 4, so if I divide 101 by 2, 101 divided by 2 is actually equal to 10.1, right? Which is 2.5. 101.1 is 2.5. This is 1 into 2 raised to 1 plus 0 into 2 raised to 0 plus 1 into 2 raised to minus 1, which is 1 by 2. So 2 plus 0.5. So that is 2.5. So for that, I only need to shift this again by 1 bit. So this becomes 10.1, 0, 0, etc. So this is 2.5. So division by 2 is equivalent to shifting by 1 bit to the right. Division by 4 is shifting by 2 bits to the right. Division by 8 is shifting by 3 bits to the right. And division by 2 raised to n. What is division by 2 raised to r? Shifting by r bits to the right. Is it understood? Division by r should be shifting by r bits to the right. So which means you don't have to do any actual division to perform division by n. So you don't have any need to divide by n here. So that structure is very straightforward. So the advantage is that the internal FFT code is undisturbed and this structure is very widely used. So this is a very simple method to modify the FFT code to compute the IDFT. So this is not in fact the only method to compute the IDFT, but this is the only method that is discussed in your textbook. There are other methods also. I will give you a website to look at these other methods. You will find it here. So we will discuss one more method here. Before discussing this, let us write down the inverse DFT expression before looking at the second expression. So I have taken a screenshot from the article in this link here because I was a bit too lazy to type everything out. So I've just taken some screenshots. I hope this is clear here. This is visible. Can you read this?
Yes, sir.
Instead of k, they have used the variable m. That's only different. So m represents the frequency domain variable. So the inverse DFT expression is written out here with m representing the frequency sample. So x of n you can write as 1 by n sigma m equal to 0 to n minus 1 x of m e raised to j 2 pi mn by n. Now you have seen that x of m will have a real part and an imaginary part. So which you can write as 1 by n sigma m equal to 0 to n minus 1 x into real part of m plus j into x of imaginary part of m into, then I will expand this also, which you can write as cos 2 pi mn by n plus j sine 2 pi mn by n. Now we will multiply all the terms through and write down four separate terms, out of which 2 will go to the real part of small x of n, and 2 terms will go to the imaginary parts of small x of n. So imaginary part of x, imaginary part within the summation. Whenever it's not the real and imaginary part of small x of n, it will go to the real and imaginary parts within the summation. So 1 by n sigma m equal to 0 to n minus 1 x real of m cos 2 pi mn by n minus x imaginary part x imag of m into sine 2 pi mn by n, because you have this j squared here, plus j into x real of m into sine 2 pi mn by n plus x imaginary m into cos 2 pi mn by n. So this is what you compute in the IDFT. So this is what you compute with your IDFT. So when you write everything in terms of the real and imaginary components, when you write this out in the rectangular coordinates, in the rectangular form, when you write this out in the rectangular form for representing the complex number, you can write in this form. So this is the IDFT expression in the rectangular form. Okay. Now it's very easy to show that this is your, if you have your frequency samples here, if I interchange the frequency samples, so if x imag m becomes the new real part, x real m becomes the new imaginary part, compute the forward FFT, swap the real and imaginary parts again, divide the new real part by n and divide the new imaginary part by n, you will get the output sequence, which is the IDFT of this input sequence. So again, the FFT algorithm is left untouched. So this is very easy to prove. We'll do this proof in the following slide. So here we will call this as x swap of m. X swap of m is the sequence x of m with its real and imaginary part swapped. So x swap of m I can write as x imag of m plus j into x real of m. So that goes as input to the forward FFT. Okay, let's see what happens. Now the forward FFT becomes sigma n equal to 0 to n minus 1 x imag of m plus j x real of m into cos 2 pi mn by n minus j sine 2 pi mn by n. I will multiply all the complex terms and then write. So this becomes x imag of m cos 2 pi mn by n plus x real of m sine 2 pi mn by n plus j x real m cos 2 pi mn by n minus x imag m sine 2 pi mn by n. So that is by multiplying every term out. So this is your forward DFT. So now what we will do is we will swap the real and imaginary parts of the result. We will swap the real and imaginary parts of the result. So this should give you the real part of the result, and this will give the real imaginary part of the result. So we will swap the real and the imaginary parts of the result. So when you do the swap after computing the FFT, the new real part is now sigma n equal to 0 to n minus 1 x real m cos 2 pi mn by n minus x imag m sine 2 pi mn by n plus j x imag m cos 2 pi mn by n plus x real m sine 2 pi mn by n. So look at this expression and look at this expression here. The only difference is that you also need to do a 1 by n here. You also need to do a multiplication by n. So once you swap the real and imaginary parts of the result of this forward DFT, and then you divide this by n, it would be exactly equal to the inverse DFT expression. So now you have seen two methods to implement the inverse DFT using the FFT algorithm. Now I will ask one of you to explain what is the first method, and another one to and the second person to explain the second method. Now Meenakshi, please tell me what is the first method. What are the steps to be taken in the first method?
Okay, sir. So first method, we'll have to take the conjugate of the DFT values at the input.
Okay.
And then we'll calculate the FFT, forward FFT.
Right.
And after obtaining that FFT, we'll again have to take the conjugate.
Okay.
And then we'll multiply by 1 by n.
You divide by n. let's say you divide by n,
Yes.
and,
Divide by n.
and you don't need any actual multiplications to perform this division by n, right?
Because
You
it
need,
is
it's a
shift,
power
right?
of 2. Because
Yes.
it's a power of 2. Because it's a power of 2. If it's not a power of 2, you have to do the multiplications.
Multiplication.
Say, for example, if it's a power of 3, then you have to do the multiplication, actual multiplication.
Yes. Sir.
Okay, now someone else explain the second method. Roshan, are you there in the class? Roshan?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Roshan, can you explain the second method?
We take the real part and imaginary part and swap
Of
them.
the, real part and imaginary part of the frequency samples,
Frequency
and then
samples and then swap them
swap,
and then take the fast Fourier transform of it.
right,
And then we again
swap.
we again swap it and
Ah,
then
divide by,
divide by n
yeah, okay.
and then we get the real and imaginary
Imaginary
part.
parts. So what was the advantage with the two methods that we have seen? The advantage is that you don't have to modify the internal code.
Modify the code.
Internal code of the FFT algorithm.
Yes.
Right. Okay, so that will be all for today. And we have a very small section to be covered, which I will maybe take some, it will take some half an hour or maybe 45 minutes. So one session would be enough to complete the second module, and we will start our tutorial sessions after that. Okay, we will combine the first and second modules and do the tutorial sessions. Maybe we'll do it for 3 to 4 classes. We'll have some homework that you have to do. Maybe which you can submit as one of your assignments, one of your many assignments. Practice doing all this homework. And I will also share a textbook, because this was the feedback that I got from your class committee, that you need textbooks to be shared. But there is a grave danger in sharing the textbooks, as you know, because textbooks are copyrighted. Okay, so I cannot share the textbooks on my Moodle page. All the textbooks are copyrighted. So what I will do is I will share in the WhatsApp group, and you can look at some of the worked out examples. I'll share the textbook by Shom series. I think it was Vinay who asked me to share the textbook by months. It's edited by Monsoon Days and published by Shom series. Vinayakale ചോദിച്ചത്. വിനായക് പോയോ? ക്ലാസ്സിൽ നിന്ന് പോയോ? വിനായക് ക്ലാസ്സിലുണ്ടോ? Okay, so anyhow, let me stop with this for today. ക്ലാസ്സിൽ ഇപ്പൊ എത്ര പേരെ ഉള്ള?